Hi guys, I'm Mark100, and may I present to you the single most powerful Vennominaga deck ever made. This is Vennominaga, Centurion, Ogdoadic, Reptilianne, Revolution, Synchron, Bish, Boujins, Skuldred, Digusto Emerald, throw every archetype in the world into this, and it's there. Yeah, that's just what the stupidity is. It is actually somehow relatively more consistent than you'd expect at the very least. This variant of the deck is still a work in progress. This is aiming to be a 60 card pile version to reduce the amount of bricking. Version 4 actually is more consistent in a lot of ways, but after you pull off the main combo, if you don't draw into exactly what you need, you might as well scoop on the spot, which is why I'm developing version 6, 7, 8, and so on to try to rectify that, so that way I can pull off the combo multiple times. So how does this insanity work? What's the goal of this, and why do I say this is the most powerful Vennominaga deck ever made? Well, most Vennominaga decks aim to use, at least these days, you aim to use trap tracks, because effectively it's a one card activation to get Vennominaga on board. However, it does require setup. For it to work, you need to have Rise of the Snake Deity actively in your deck, and you have to have Vennominaga on field. And for any of this to actually matter, you have to have enough reptiles in graveyard for Vennominaga to have enough attack points for her effect to have any relevance. Meaning that if you just get this on board and you don't have enough reptiles in graveyard, the whole combo is kind of pointless, because Vennominaga will only have like 1,000 attack points and then defeats the whole purpose of summoning her. So this aims to rectify that through a Bish loop. So the goal of the deck is to summon out Bishbaalkin, which, yes, Bishbaalkin is never used for anything fair or fun. But I disagree with that to a degree, because I think this is very fun, but definitely not fair. Once you get Bish on board, then it puts 10 tokens on the field to both fields. All you then have to do is get Reptilianne Coatl on board, which is not that difficult, in order so that way you can tune it for with 2 tokens for Reptilianne Hydra, which then nukes all your opponent's tokens in order for you to draw 5. If you could do that multiple times, you're almost guaranteed to get trap tracks in your hand and have enough resources to have Vennominaga on board and to have a very fair amount of reptiles in the graveyard. So if you're able to pull off the combo well, then it works really well. Now the issue is that this is not my original deck. I didn't come up with this at first. That's what's annoying. Someone else I was randomly dueling created, was it this one? Yes, this monstrosity. So he beat me with it, and then afterwards I went into the replay and copied his entire deck to try to understand how this insanity worked. So I finally understood how this deck worked. The idea effectively was, with his original variant, to summon Bish. Then after you summon Bish with a clear field on both ends, so no monsters on either end, so you have 10 full tokens, you then use Bish and one of the tokens in order to go into Reprodocus, change the attribute of the below token to Reptile to link it with a token for Echidna. Echidna is difficult but beneficial, because it lets you search reptile monsters up to the number of monsters your opponent controls with 0 attack. So you actually get to search 5 reptiles, which is nuts, but that comes at the downside, however, of locking you into reptile extra deck monsters for the rest of the turn. That's the problem with the current variant, which I'm trying to avoid. So effectively, once you do that, all you need to do is make sure one of the cards you search out of the 5 is Reptilianne Coatl, so that way you can special summon it using its own effect, or normal summon it if you haven't used your normal summon yet, and then tune it with 2 of the remaining tokens in order to go into Hydra. So you effectively plus 5 off of Echidna, and then plus another 5 off of Hydra, which is completely insane. And the goal with that is that you're hopefully drawing into, in this original variant that this guy created, either Trap Trick or Trap Tracks. Trap Trick because of the fact that it will let you search Trap Tracks, because you are so desperate to get Trap Tracks on board that you'll even settle for Trap Trick to search out Trap Tracks, which is actually pretty funny. So I feel like this guy's variant of the deck was a complete mess and that there was plenty of room for optimization. So I've been, ever since I saw this variant, I spent the better part of as much time as I felt I needed to try to figure out how his deck actually functioned, because prior to that point, I never actually saw a Bish loop before, and then to try to improve it to make it actually functional. So I will now show you a replay of what I got recently, and you'll see how the current version of the deck that I'm working on, version 6, works under ideal circumstances. This is going to take a few minutes, just FYI. I will do a play-by-play. So, just for a basic overview, Coatl is the linchpin of the deck. If you don't have Coatl at the right time, you're screwed. If you don't have enough special summons or normal summons at the right time, you're screwed. Some of the key interactions with the deck are that Shadow's Light lets you target any of your dark reptiles and special summon a light reptile for free, which is a free King of the Feral Imps, and then you could banish Shadow's Light from graveyard for a second normal summon. On a side note, by the way, completely unrelated, during testing I actually discovered that Shadow's Light, believe it or not, can target Bish in order to summon out Crimson Dragon for free. Literally, it summons it from the extra deck for free. You use Shadow's Light, you target Bish, and then you get to summon Crimson Dragon completely for free. And then because you have Crimson Dragon and Bish is treated as level 12, you could then summon either Quasar, Cosmic Blazar, any of the level 12s, including Hot Red King of all Calamities. So this card needs to be banned. Or this, or King of all Calamities, or all three preferably, because that's honestly just completely insane. Or Crimson Dragon also while we're at it. All three of these are completely insane. Also, if you hear my dog, I apologize about that. But, yeah, so on top of that, it also gives you a second normal summon, which is very much needed in this deck. I mostly actually played, well, actually I played for both, but it's just very beneficial. So this is against a bot, but it'll just give you some perspective on how the combos work and how, if this deck is functioning properly, it should work. So my hand right now is Centurion Prima, which is, so there's 2 Centurion bricks in the deck, so you want to draw into Prima. You don't, hold on 1 second. I apologize about that. So you ideally want to draw into Prima. You do not want to draw into Trudea or into the Field Spell. These two are bricks. They don't completely brick you, but they're not ideal to draw into. The reason being because you want to use this as full combo for level 8s. You're not trying to go into the level 12, which Centurions typically try to do. They're very beneficial because Prima is a tuner that's a level 4, and the other one's also level 4, and they can special summon themselves very easily. And then, so that means I could use them for XYZ plays for either Daigusto Emerald, which is needed at some point in the double Bish line, or King of the Feral Imps to search out Coatl in most cases, or to search out Nauya in most other cases. Or I could use them to Synchro for either Geomathemic Magma or anything else that I might need. So regardless, drawing into that one is ideal. The other starter here is Nauya. Nauya is really, really strong in this deck because effectively it allows you to mill itself and any light reptile from your deck. So in this variant of the deck, I'm running 2 light reptiles, which is Curse, the Ogdoadic Light, and Nunu, the Ogdoadic Remnant. Now, if you mill Curse, Curse has an effect where you are able to tribute a monster to special summon itself, and then revive a reptile from your graveyard. If you have anything on board, the combo effectively is you tribute it to summon Curse, then Curse revives Nauya, then Nauya is able to search out Ogdoadic Water Lily, and then if you happen to have 4 or more reptiles of different names at the time of activation, and you send a 5th that's a different name, you're able to revive any reptile from your graveyard, in which case you could revive Coatl and you're able to go full combo. So potentially in some scenarios, Nauya is a 1.5 to 2 card Bish combo. Next thing is Shadow's Light, which I already explained. Next is Elray. It's just another level 8 that unbricks me in a lot of situations. It's not nearly as good as Curse, but it is still very strong. Then is Snake Rain. Snake Rain is another 1.5 card Bish. It's just really strong. Discard 1 and mill 4 reptiles, which is just insane. So let's see how the combo works. So what I'm going to do is zoom. So my turn first. no draw phase because I'm going first. So I have two ways I could do it, and I figured this out over a lot of experimentation. So either I could use Nalia's effect to mill itself and another one, and then effectively I'm going to have to discard something else for Snake Rain, but I actually figured through a lot of experimentation it's usually more beneficial to use Snake Rain to discard Nalia, and if I happen to get another Nalia later into my hand, then I'll use its effect later. But the advantage of getting an additional mill off of Nalia isn't worth it versus just being able to not have a -1 here, because either way Nalia would be milling itself, so I can always do it later if I get it back in hand later, because I'm running 3 of it anyways. So I'm going to I'm actually milling Elrate. Okay, so that's what I ended up doing there, and here's what I end up doing. So it depends on what your hand is for what you want to mill off Snake Rain. If Night Sword Serpent is in your deck, you always want to pick that. You always want to run Night Sword Serpent at exactly 1, no more and no less. And the reason is because if it's milled or sent to the graveyard by any means by card effect, you get to special summon it for free. That special summon could then mean that you tribute it for the effect of Curse, so you don't need to waste your normal summon just to start going full combo. I then put Queen in the graveyard. The only reason I'm running Queen is not even because of her effect, but it's because of the fact that she requires me to discard, to tribute 2 monsters instead of 1. So in very specific situations, example in this deck, it actually is very beneficial for me to do that. That I'm putting her over King because her effect can come up sometimes, especially with Boundless over here, that if I have it set in the right order and do it in the right order, I could potentially get some advantage. But really, I'm running her because of the fact that she is able to remove 2 cards off board, and she's a level 8, meaning that if I want to go into Bish and I want to make sure that my field is clear beforehand, I'm able to get rid of more stuff, which can actually be a problem a lot of the times in this deck. So my effective choices were that I picked Curse, Night Sword Serpent, which special summons itself, Queen for later, and Boundless for later. Boundless lets you discard a card to add it to your hand, and then if it's sent from the field to the graveyard or special summoned from the graveyard or something, then you get to, your opponent draws, you get to add an Ogdoadic, and then you both discard one. And because of the way Queen works, you get some advantage if Queen is on board and you activate this effect. That doesn't come up in this duel, but it is something that can come up. Now, under a lot of circumstances, instead of Boundless, I would probably pick Nunu, which is the light variant of the level 4 that mills itself to mill another card. However, because I have Nunu in my hand still, I opted that the best idea would actually be to mill Nunu in order to mill to basically mill one for the other and get some of these in the graveyard instead. So that's why I ended up doing there, and that was my reasoning behind there. So shuffle the deck, Night Sword Serpent special summons itself, then I send Nunu to, now you have to send Nunu, and then Curse special summons itself. Curse then brings back Nalia. Nalia lets me search Water Lily. So that's the full combo as I explained it so far. Now, if you look at my graveyard, I happen to have 4 reptiles with different names. That means if I activate Water Lily and I send Coatl, I'm able to effectively special summon Coatl for I'm able to special summon Coatl off the mill, which is exactly what I'm going to do right now. And now, this right here, this board is full combo. Alternative full combo is just these 2, so Curse and Nalia, with Revolution Synchron in hand. So I will show that combo later on probably, but effectively you tune Coatl with Nalia in order to go into Geomathemic Magma, then you use Magma and a level 8 to go into Bish. Now here's the thing, the problem with doing it like that is that for the next step of the combo, if you want to double Bish, so if you want to be able to summon Bish twice and summon Hydra twice to draw 10, you can't do that because you need to have Coatl on board. Because if I used Coatl as part of this, then Coatl would be my graveyard and I have no other way with the resources I have to get another Coatl. But it just so happens to be that Centurion Primera happens to be a level 4 tuner, which really helps me out. And it also lets me search out stand-up Centurion for later on, which will be very beneficial for when I need to be able to use some of the Centurion cards. So instead of using Coatl for full combo, I actually used my normal summon on Primera, so that way I could use Primera and Nalia in order to summon Geomathmic Magma. And I leave Coatl on the board, so that way when I summon Bish, yes, my opponent only has 4 tokens, because I'm only able to summon 4 tokens, but that doesn't quite matter as much because of the fact that I only really need 4 of my tokens to be able to do most of what I need to do, and so long as my opponent has like 3 to 5 tokens, I'm able to get significant advantage. So it's actually better in this case to not use Coatl and to leave it for later, unless you have a way to get Coatl on board once Bish is on board and before using Bish's effect. So I'm going to tune Primera with Nalia in order to go into Magma and Curse into Bish, and then Bish effect activates to put 8 tokens onto the board. I then use Coatl and 2 of the tokens for Hydra. Hydra then nukes my opponent's board and I get to draw 4. So I get to replenish a significant amount of advantage from here. Now with this version of the Bish combo, I already drew Trap Track, so my goal from here theoretically can be as simple as just getting King on board, because I have what I need in hand to do everything. I don't need to do anything else. If I wanted to, I could focus on just getting King on board and trying to go into a bunch of like Omnis or whatever, depending on how I build out my deck. Again, I'm still adjusting it, but let's say I didn't draw Trap Tracks. Let's say I need to draw Trap Tracks still. Well then, or how about this? Let's say if I drew Rise of the Snake Deity. If I drew Rise of the Snake Deity, then Trap Tracks has no target in deck for it to use, and therefore it cannot resolve, and it ends on the spot. So what if I need to get Rise of the Snake Deity back into my deck? Well, then you have to go for a double Bish play, or at least a partial double Bish play. Now, once you have this step done, your next goal is going to be to summon Saryuja Skulldread, because that lets you draw 4 and then put 3 back into your deck. And that's helpful because of the fact that, 1, if you haven't drawn Trap Tracks yet, it's now more likely for you to be able to. 2, it lets you take other bricks that you might have drawn into from your hand. So let's say I already used Revolution Synchron earlier in the combo. I don't need my other Revolution Synchrons, so I'd rather put it back in my decks for other potential options. Or alternatively, if I drew into Rise of the Snake Deity, I could put that back in my deck using Saryuja. And then on top of that, it lets me have a free special summon, which, trust me, this deck oftentimes needs. Other free special summons in this deck include Ancient Fairy Dragon, include this Bujin card, include this thing, and then also you're able to get a second normal summon on top of the second normal summon from Shadow's Light through Alien Shock Trooper M-Frame and Cosmic Slicer Zerol, but I'll show that later, actually. So my next goal is that I want to get Saryuja Skulldread on board. So let's resume the combo. I don't remember what my next move was, because from here, it's usually very tricky and it's very dependent on your draws. So it looks like, okay, yeah, so the next thing I did was I activated Stand Up Centurion because I felt that the next best thing would be, okay, let's start setting up some of the Centurion's plays. So that let me discard a card in order to set this. Now, because, yes, Revolution Synchron's a great card, but I don't have a level 4 on board, and the whole purpose of Revolution Synchron is that it gets the first phase of the Bish combo started, because it could tune itself with a level 4 in order so that way I can go into Ancient Fairy Dragon, then mill the top card, special summon it back as a level 1 in order to go into level 8. Ancient Fairy Dragon can actually nuke the field spell. Let's say I had Stand Up Centurion on board in order to gain 1,000 life points and search out the Reptilianne field spell for further advantage, and lets me special summon a level 4 or lower from my hand, so it's actually really oddly synergistic. Like, out of nowhere. I don't know how it's this synergistic. In this case, though, I don't need Revolution Synchron because it is a level 3. Yes, my goal ultimately right now is to summon Saryuja Skulldread, but at the end of the day, I also need to get Daigusto Emerald on board to reset the combo, because I need to get Bish back into my extra Bish and Geomathmic Magma back into my extra deck for me to do it again. Yes, I can allocate more extra deck space for a second copy of both, but I feel like that would be a little bit wasteful. Maybe I might do it. I'm still running some experimentation, but I don't feel it's too difficult for me to go into Daigusto Emerald first in most cases, especially because of the fact that I'm also just going to be going into Saryuja, and it lets me use Daigusto Emerald as material for the Saryuja. So I'm still doing a lot of experimentation on that regard. But effectively, what's happening now is that I decide to mill the Revolution Synchron because it's a level 3 and because I really just don't need it for this part of the combo. I also don't really need to go into a level 8 right now. In the future, maybe, but I also have Outright still in my graveyard and Queen still in my graveyard, which are level 8 non-tuners I will be able to do, and I didn't believe it would be too difficult for me to summon Geomathmech again, because I should be able to still have the, I should be able to normal summon Centurion Prima off of the effect of Shadow's Light once I get Shadow's Light in the graveyard. So let's get the combo continuing. So now I use the effect of Coatl to special summon itself. My idea is, okay, let me get Shadow's Light into the graveyard for a second special summon, for a second normal summon. And what I could do with this actually is that because I get a special summon off of Shadow's Light, in this case, Ogdoadic Nunu, I would be able to then XYZ them into Daigusto Emerald. So I'm already one step closer to what I need. The problem is I still have Bish. I might have misplayed in that regard. That might have been better if I got Bish off board earlier, but I pulled off the combo anyway, so more testing is needed to determine if it would have been more optimal for me to get rid of Bish first, or if the way I did it was actually more optimal. So Shadow's Light on Coatl in order to summon Nunu, and then I am able to put them in Daigusto Emerald. Keep in mind now the Shadow's Light in the graveyard, whenever I want, I could banish it in order to get a second normal summon of a Darker Light monster. On top of that, I activated the effect of Revolution Synchron. In this case, I don't even care about its level, it being a tuner or anything like that, but simply because the fact that it special summons itself from the graveyard at no cost means I could actually use it as material for Saryuja because I require 4 monsters with different names. So now, I'm not sure why I did this. I went to I went into Ancient Fairy Dragon first because I was hoping I could special summon Prima, but then I realized because of its effect, I could only special summon it once, and I already special summoned it once. But I did pop the field spell at the very least in order so that way I get the Reptilianne field spell. So it might have been a misplay multiple times here, but I still got the combo pulled off. I then activate the field spell, and what I did is I nuked one of my tokens using the field spell in order to summon that. This really had no purpose at the end. I thought it might help, but it really just didn't do much of anything significant. At this point, I realized, okay, I really just need Saryuja for my combo to continue. This is about the time I realized, wait, I still have Bish on board, so if I still have Bish on board, then Daigusto Emerald's not really helpful. So at that point, I'm like, okay, screw it. I didn't want to get rid of Ancient Fairy Dragon, but I didn't really have much of a choice, so I did it anyways in order so that way I could summon Saryuja Skulldread, and then using Saryuja Skulldread's effect, I was able to draw 4 and then put 3 back into my deck. I missed what I put back in my deck, but it is what it is. Now, this was a misplay on my part, the fact that I picked Reptilianne Ramifications. Probably would have been better to pick something else, but it doesn't really matter. Now, once I have, the real important thing is that now I have both Bish and Geomathmech Magma back into my graveyard, meaning that effectively I can now put them back into the extra deck using Daigusto Emerald in order to both draw a card and also to reset the combo. I could also use Shadow's Light finally now in order to special summon Prima. And also, on top of that, I never use the effect of Trudea in order to special summon her. This is why I wasn't concerned earlier with not having the materials I needed. Because keep in mind that I still have both Outright and Ogdoadic and the Queen in graveyard. So I have full combo already. I have everything I need to go full combo once again. Because all I have to do is special summon Trudea using her own effect, tune into Geomathmech Magma, now that that's back in my extra deck. And then I can use Queen in order to tribute 2 cards, and I would rather tribute 2 cards instead of 1 because I want an empty board, so that way I get the full benefit of having Bish instead of just partial benefit. So that's what's going to happen here, and keep in mind, because Queen is a level 8, that allows me to then use it with Geomathmech Magma for the combo. So here, I have a tuner synchro, a non-tuner level 8, both are the same level, which is everything I need for Bish and everything I need for the second part of the loop. So summon Bish, put 10 tokens on the 10 tokens on the board, and all this is possible because both Bish and Hydra are soft ones per turns and not hard ones per turns. So then I use those 2 for Reaper Docus, which is the combo I was describing earlier. I then just have to declare Reptile. And after I declare reptile, now this token is considered a reptile. And keep in mind that the requirements for Reptilianne Hydra is 2 monsters, including a reptile. Meaning it doesn't have to be 2 reptiles, it just has to include a reptile. So it will extra deck lock me, but because I'm going for Vennominaga, I don't particularly care. So I go for Echidna, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to search out my 3rd copy of Coatl. Coatl does have an inherent special summon effect to special summon herself, but I believe I used that, and I believe I'm out of normal summons. I don't remember how I got her on board. How did I get her on board? I used Alray. I don't know why I did that. Oh, no, now I remember. Okay, so the reason I did that was because of the fact that I am running Cosmic Slicer Zerol, which has an effect that you could remove 2 A counters from anywhere on the board to get another normal summon of a reptile monster. But the issue is that to do that, I need to first go into Shock Trooper M-Frame in order to put A counters on the board. So what I could actually do is I could, but both of them all require all reptile monsters, which isn't a problem because I could tribute one of the tokens for Alray, and Alray is a reptile. So I could then use Alray and no, what did I do? Because I needed another one on board. Okay, so I finally used the effect of Nunu, that if you have a Ogdoadic on board, you can special summon it from the graveyard. Now I have everything I need in order to go into both M-Frame and Cosmic Slicer Zerol. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use a Nunu and Echidna for Shock Trooper M-Frame and discard a card in order to put 4 A counters on a token. I then use both M-Frame and the other card in order to go into Zerol, and I can remove 2 of the A counters from the token in order to normal summon Coatl, and then Coatl and 2 tokens is Hydra, and Hydra nukes all those tokens, and then I get to draw 5. And with that, I went full combo. Now, here's the problem with the way I did it. I was out of normal summons, and I was out of special summons. And because I was out of normal summons and special summons, and I was reptile locked, it effectively meant that even though I did all this, I was not actually able to summon Vennominaga onto my field in order to complete the combo of summoning Vennominaga. I got Trap Tricks in my hand, which is Trap Tracks in my hand, which is one of the linchpins. But the other half of that combo is getting Vennominaga on board. But at the end of the day, this combo shows off that, yes, something this stupid is possible. And there definitely is ways I could have made this a lot more efficient just through managing my resources better. For example, I never actually got to use the effect properly of Ancient Fairy Dragon. Where is Ancient Fairy Dragon? Is it in my extra deck? Yeah, so I never got to use the effect of Ancient Fairy Dragon in order to special summon a level 4 or lower monster from my hand. I also never got to use the effect of Saryuja Skull Dread in order to special summon a level 4 or lower monster from my hand. So I had 2 additional completely free special summons that I just didn't use properly. And also, the extra deck right now has 14 cards, and some of these cards I don't feel are completely necessary. I feel like I might be able to nix these 2 cards and replace them with something better. So there still is a lot of experimentation left to go with this deck, but this shows off that the sheer amount of draws you're able to do with this insanity is insane, and that you are able to relatively easily pull out of a Vennominaga. However, the one catch to this is that this version of the deck is still a work in progress, and the combo is insanely convoluted and very fragile. So, what's a more reasonable version of the deck? This right here is a more reasonable version of the deck that might actually be able to... you might be able to get a few wins at locals with this variant of the deck. I think that this version of the deck, with some proper optimization, might be able to top a locals, potentially. I think this variant of the deck, you might get a few wins at locals against opponents who don't see it coming under the right circumstances. I don't have a replay for that deck, but I'm actually going to do it live, just because why not, to show you guys how the deck is supposed to work. So, this variant is a lot more simple. You can only pull off the Bish loop once through this, and if you don't draw into what you need, you're kind of screwed. So, thankfully, I'm going first, so... Okay, I don't even need to do much because I already drew into Trap Tracks. But I'm going to do the Bish combo anyways, as though I didn't draw into it. So I'm going to mill Boundless in order to mill Night Sword Serpent, Curse, Nauya, And I am going to choose my last one. Should probably be. I'm going to do Nyami. Okay. Now, because Night Sword Serpent was sent to the graveyard by card effect, I can special summon it. This deck is very fragile to hand traps currently, but I feel like it can be mitigated a fair bit through some more optimizations. So, tribute it to summon Curse, activate Curse's effect in order to special summon Nalia. He's probably going to Impermanveiler me. If he does, I'm just going to scoop because I'm just trying to show off the combo. Okay, special summon Nalia, activate effect to search. So, searching Water Lily. Now, because I have Revolution Synchron in hand, I have everything I need to go full combo. So what I can actually do is... I'd actually rather do it like this. Would I? No, let's do it like this. The issue is I'm not going to have enough reptiles in grave, potentially, if I do it this method. Let me use Revolution Synchron now. Mill the top card of my deck. I'm really hoping it just mills a generic reptile. Or not. Okay. No, it should be fine, actually. Okay. I could activate the effect of Nunu in order to mill another card. This could cause problems down the line, but I really don't have a choice. Gonna mill King. Now I should have 4 reptiles in graveyard, so I could activate Water Lily. And I can send Coatl in order to special summon Coatl. Wait, no, I was supposed to do this differently. I'm doing it as if it's the double Bish loop, my bad. Whatever, it's fine. It still does it everything fine, so... This guy is confused. Oh, come on! Wait, no, I could just chain it. You should have waited for me to activate it. Yeah, a bit too late, bro. Okay, so token plus Bish for Reaper-Docus. Reaper-Docus effect to change to Reptile. Echidna and token for whatever. Now I get to search 5, so I'm going to search out Black Mamba, Nalia, Vennominaga, Elray. Oh yeah, only 4. Okay, it's fine though. I'm now going to do this to nuke his board of tokens. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to special summon Black Mamba. Shoot, it's in my graveyard. That's a problem. And I have... come on. Okay. I messed up. It's such a difficult combo. It's very easy to mess up. So let's try again. This guy gonna run you up. Yeah, the way I messed up before is that I was playing it as though it's a double Bish loop, and tried to get and I tried to get Coatl on board as soon as possible. When in reality, when going for a single Bish loop, it's best not to do that because you're just going to search off you're just going to search Coatl off of Echidna anyway, so it really doesn't matter. But because Echidna locks you into reptiles, it only works if you're doing a single Bish loop instead of a double Bish loop. Why is everyone taking so long to ready up? Come on. There we go. Okay. Better go first. You better let me go first and I'm leaving. Okay, leaving. There is definitely a way to make this deck a lot more resilient going second, but right now I'm just trying to get the basics to actually function, which is difficult to say the least. And I drew into Snake Deity. Oh my god, okay. I'm going first, but I drew into stinking Snake Deity. Because this variant of the deck can theoretically go into, it can theoretically go into Saryuja, but I haven't developed a combo line for it yet, so I don't want to experiment live because it would be too difficult. Okay, thank you for letting me go first. Not the best hand, but this works at least. I think. It depends on what I mill. If I mill something good, then yeah. No, I milled it awful. My hand was awful and I milled awful. This is why I'm going for the version 6 and actually working on a version 7 right now. It is a lot subject to brick, but it actually can pull off more times than you'd expect. It does rely on you going first, but this is table 500 stuff right now, but it is pretty powerful when it does go off, and it is the most consistent variant of the deck that I've seen, because it has a bunch of one-card starters. So long as you draw one of those one-card starters, you're able to go full off. And I didn't draw a single one here. Complete brick. Like, give me one. I'm playing like there should be a greater than 40% chance I draw into my one card starters, let alone just draw a good enough hand to be able to do what I need to do. Okay, fine. You know what? This works good enough. This is good enough. Screw it. Okay. Let me do it like this. The fact that I drew Snake Rain makes it that it's okay. I'd rather have this in the graveyard. So let me do Nalia, Night Sword Serpent, Curse, and normally I would do Nunu, but that locks me in a way that I don't like. So let me try this because I have a card in hand I don't really want. Yeah, I think I could go full combo with this actually. Okay, yeah, actually it was really good I chose that instead. Yeah, that was the right play because when I go into Ancient Fairy Dragon afterwards, it'll be very beneficial. Yeah, I'm going full combo with this. Yeah, this is going to be easy. Okay, so use this, discard this, add it to hand. I can... Wait, shoot, I have Rise of the Snake Deity in my hand. You gotta be kidding me. Whatever, I'm gonna show off the combo anyways, even if I can't... Wait, actually, if I get Trap Tracks anyways, it doesn't particularly matter. Also, wait, it doesn't really matter with that anyways. Okay. I've been working on this for like over a year and I still don't fully understand the combo line. That's how crazy this is. But if I draw into Trap Tracks anyways, then it doesn't matter if I... No, it does, because I can't even activate Trap Tracks because I don't have a target, because I reduced it to 1 in this deck, I think. Let me double check. Yeah, I reduced it to 1 in this deck, so I literally don't have a target. So I could at least show how the combo works. Or I could just bank on him doing something stupid and trying to destroy my Vennominaga by card effect. This is just how the combo works at the very least. Yeah, that way you can understand it. So if I didn't have Snake Deity in my hand, then you can understand how it's supposed to work. So now I get to search 5. So I have to search Coatl, and then everything else doesn't really matter. But it's also recommended to search Vennominaga, so that way it doesn't accidentally get milled at any point. Because if Vennominaga gets milled by accident, then you either need a way to get it back into the deck or you're kind of screwed. So I could use Coatl's effect to special summon it. Do I have Saryuja in this deck? I have Saryuja. Okay, there actually is hope then. Okay. Wait, no, but because I went into Echidna, I can't go into it, so never mind. Oof. Retaliating Sea? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. You actually gotta be kidding me. He banished it. Okay. I think that shows off the combo at the very least. You understand how it's supposed to work. Look how many cards are in my hand. I love how I drew all that and I still didn't draw into Trap Tracks, by the way. Anyways, you understand how it works. That from there, you use Ogdoadic Water Lily to mill King, special summon it, or you special summon it through any number of other potential ways, because there are other ways. It's just a little bit more difficult in this variant of the deck. Then you activate Trap Tracks from your side of the field to set Rise of the Snake Deity on your opponent's draw phase in order to summon Vennominaga. I have pulled this off relatively consistently. It really just depends on my opponents and how badly I mess up. And the fact that I keep stinking drawing Snake Deity, it's legit insane. So I'm going to end off the video by showing the evolution of this deck, so that way you can understand my mindset with building and some of the ideas I've had and the direction it's going. This is not my actual original variant of the deck. I deleted it a while ago because I'm stupid. This was during Mystic Mine format, so my mindset was, keep in mind, Trap Tracks did not exist back then, and because it didn't exist, I had to be more creative with how I summoned Vennominaga. So yeah, I've actually been working on this deck for a very, very long time. I just realized I forgot to actually put King and Vennominaga in it. Yeah. So, and probably I would cut 1 level limit there. Good enough. So this just shows how my original mindset on the deck was and the basic idea of how the combo was supposed to work. The idea was just try to mill reptiles. I had some extra deck cards at the time. I don't remember what they were. And then also the main way to get Vennominaga out was to stall as long as possible with Mystic Mine, and then to use limit reverse and level limit area B in order to destroy Vennominaga by the effect of limit reverse to proc the effect of Rise of the Snake Deity to summon Vennominaga. Yes, this was a complete disaster and barely functioned. Yes, this was actually a legitimate thing that people did back before Trap Tracks existed, because that's how difficult it is to summon Vennominaga. Effectively, Limit Reverse says, target a monster with 1,000 or less attack points in your graveyard, special summon it. If the target is changed to defense mode, destroy it and this card. When this card leaves the field, destroy the target, blah, blah, blah. So, the idea being that if I can get Vennominaga in graveyard, Rise of the Snake Deity on the field, Limit Reverse on the field, and level Limit Area B on the field, that I can use Limit Reverse to revive Vennominaga, and because level Limit Area B is on the field, and because Vennominaga is level 10, which is higher than level 4, is forced into defense mode. And because it is forced into defense mode, that therefore means that it would be destroyed by the effect of Limit Reverse, which is card effect. And because Vennominaga is therefore destroyed by card effect, I can then activate the effect of Rise of the Snake Deity to summon Vennominaga. Yes, this is a disaster. Yes, it barely worked. The only reason that I use this combo at all is because of the fact that level limit area B is a floodgate, and therefore will help me stall a few extra turns to hopefully get the 1 in a million chance of actually getting this combo to go off. It was a disaster. It almost never worked, and I gave up on the deck for a little while. I tried to make it as efficient as possible, and then Trap Tracks came out, and then I'm like, ooh, wow, okay, this actually makes the deck, like, very significantly better. So I will show you some of the variants I've seen. So when Trap Tracks came out, I was doing some experimentation with it, and then as I mentioned earlier, this guy showed me this whole Bish loop, and the fact that this Bish loop lets you draw as many cards as you do really propelled the deck into like, okay, I could actually build this into something potentially functional. So this is my original variant of the deck that I was trying out. So it has a lot of different synergies, but as you can see, a lot of wasted extra deck space too. But also, even back then, I was doing some experimentations with seeing if I could pull off the Bish combo twice. The idea was that I try to summon out Vennominaga. If I can't, I at the very least use the card advantage that the snakes are able to provide and the Ogdoadics can provide in order to summon, like, let's say, Boral Sword or things like that. It was a mess. It didn't really work very well, and this was a work in progress for a little while, but it shows some ideas I had for a very long time even. So most of the core of this is the same versus a lot of the newer variants that I've made. So, for example, 1 Vennominaga, 1 Elray and Curse, 1 King. That is universal among all the decks I built. Zoha, I think, is universal among all the decks I built so far too, with the exception of one where I'm not sure if I took it out or not, but I'm experimenting with reducing the amount of snakes only to, like, basically Nunu, Nauya, and Curse, and that's basically it. Coatl at 3 is universal among every single variant of this deck that I've built. If I could run this thing at 6, I would. This thing is the linchpin and the Achilles heel of the entire deck. The fact that it special summons itself for free if you control a Dark Reptile is insane, and the fact that it's level 4, meaning that it can also go into King of the Feral Imps or Daigusto Emerald if you needed to, means that synergizes with everything with this deck. So you can summon it out twice by either your normal summon or its own effect, and the fact that it's a tuner and it's a Reptilianne, so you could go into Hydra. It's just very synergistic. Goblinberg was a tech choice I opted for. Originally, I was experimenting with doing reptiles only for the most part in the main deck. Reason being because then it would let me play Ogdoadic, whatever it's called. No, there's some reptile card that lets you revive a reptile in your graveyard. Actually, it's right here. Viper's Rebirth. If all the monsters in your graveyard are reptiles, target one non-tuner in your graveyard, special summon it, but destroy it during the end phase of the turn. So for a very short time, I was experimenting with seeing if I could keep the main deck only reptiles, but eventually I figured that's not really ideal because reptiles kind of suck for the most part. So Goblinberg was a good tech option because it's effectively either a 1-card Geomathemic Magma or a 1-card King of the Feral Imps, depending on what I specifically need at the time. So it's just very beneficial. And then also, Kage Tokage was another tech choice I opted for. Now, the issue was that because I had both Goblinberg and Kage Tokage, either sometimes I wasn't able to normal summon when I had Kage Tokage in hand, meaning it was just a dead card in hand, or other times that I wanted to, that I had too many cards on the field, so either I could use its effect and special summon it, but it's just going to be a dead card and clog up my field when I need to get to Bish, or I don't use it and it just stays a dead card in hand, which is why in later variants I cut it entirely. Night Sword Serpent is a godsend. I wasn't running it in some of the more experimental earlier builds of this variant of the first deck, but eventually I figured that this card is absolutely insane. 3 Nauya, 3 Nunu is a staple in all these variants. 3 Snake Rain, same. Ogdoadic Water Lily, I've gone back and forth on running it at either 1 or 2. These days I'm typically running it at 1, mostly because of the fact that it's a hard once per turn and it's searchable off of Nauya, so I don't really need it at 2. My original mindset was that yes, it is searchable, but it's also just such a generically good card for the deck that I don't mind drawing into it. And then I spoke with other deck builders on how optimal deck building is done, and they recommended that you can run cards at 2 if you need to, but it's usually not recommended unless it's something that you absolutely need. Shadow's Light was the same idea at the time, that yes, it's a very good card, but I would sometimes rather other cards, and then eventually I defaulted out to, okay, you know something, this just does so much for me that even if it's a hard once per turn, I want to see it every duel, so I'm going to run it at 3. I was originally running Pot of Avarice and Foolish Burial because they are just generically good cards. The problem with them is that Foolish Burial doesn't really help as much as I'd like it to, because I already have plenty of ways to mill cards, and a -1 just to mill a snake is just not worth it. And then Pot of Avarice, like, a lot of the time I want my cards to stay in the extra deck, to stay in the graveyard. I don't want to shuffle them back into the deck. Like with Daigusto Emerald, I need to shuffle back some of the cards, but like, this is a main deck card, not an extra deck card I could just get whenever I want. So either I draw into it, I play it at 3, I draw into it all the time, it's always a brick, and a lot of the time I just don't want to shuffle a lot of these cards into the deck, because keep in mind, the more reptiles I shuffle into the deck, the weaker Vennominaga gets, if I even do get her on board. Reptilianne Ramifications is very tricky, and I'm constantly doing a back and forth on it. Like, if there's any card in this entire thing that I've been back and forth on more of, it is Reptilianne Ramifications. Because it is card neutral. Send a card from your hand to the graveyard to activate 2 effects in sequence. Add a Reptilianne monster, meaning it searches out Coatl, which is amazing. Add a Reptilianne spell or trap, and that's the reason that this is such a hard include. Because, yes, there's a decent Reptilianne spell or trap. There's 2. Reptilianne Recoil, the field spell, and then also there's a Reptilianne card that you banish a Reptilianne from graveyard to put 2 tokens, which is decent, but not really the most helpful. The third effect that changes the attack is kind of pointless because right now the variant of the deck is going first, but just shows that there are some ways that maybe I can make this a going second deck too. But the issue is that means that, like, I only want Coatl. Firstly, having to get rid of a resource for these 2 is annoying, because a lot of the time that would mean that I have to get rid of Shadow's Light, or let's say, because in newer variants of the deck I'm running only 1 Water Lily. So it's like between Snake Rain, Shadow's Light, and Water Lily. I'm like, I need to get rid of a resource, but none of these are resources I want to get rid of. And yes, I'm getting Coatl, which is absolutely required for this deck to function, but at the same time, like, the other thing I'm getting is like something that's decent, but not something I particularly want. So I'm very much back and forth on this. In more recent variants, specifically in version 6, I'm actually running it at 2. I might run it at 3 potential. I'm still doing some experimentation, and the only reason I changed it from taking it out to putting it back in is because of the interaction with the Centurions and Ancient Fairy Dragon. Because the Centurions effectively search a field spell that gets some of their plays going, and then later on in the combo, if I happen to summon Ancient Fairy Dragon off of Revolution Synchron, I could then nuke that field spell, the Centurion, to gain 1,000 life points and search out Recoil, meaning that it's a free card for nothing. So the fact that it gives me access to that, so now not only can I just search it off Ramifications, which I'm mostly playing Ramifications to search out Coatl, which is good, but then also, if let's say I don't have Ramifications, that if I happen to summon Ancient Fairy Dragon, if I happen to have stand-up Centurion on the board anyways, because I'm doing all this combo anyways, it doesn't hurt me to put this back in, because it gives me a little bit of extra advantage that I actually do prefer. So then I was also playing Monster Reborn, and I opted to take that out because it just doesn't do enough for the deck. Ogdoadic Serpent Strike is another card I was very, very back and forth on for a very long time, and the reason being because in some cases it's better than Water Lily, in other cases it's not. The upside of the card is that you don't need 5 reptiles in the graveyard for it to work. Water Lily will only let you special summon as long as you have 5 reptiles with different names in your graveyard. Serpent Strike doesn't care about that. The downside is that you can only special summon things that are actually currently in your graveyard, which can be a problem if you need to get Coatl, but you don't have Coatl in your graveyard. And the other effect really just doesn't come up enough that it's worth it for me to consider in the deck. Then 2 Rise of the Snake Deities. The only reason I was running 2 is for Trap Tracks, so that way if I draw into 1, that way I can do the other one. And then 2 Trap Trick to search out the Trap Tracks. So it was a complete mess. The extra deck is 2 Bish, because even back then I was trying to run some basic experiments to see if I could do it twice. 1 Geomathemic Magma, 2 Hydra, King of the Feral Imps at 2. A lot of these are cards that are not really necessary though. Then the side deck is what's interesting, because most of these are cards that I was doing some experimentation at various points for how good they would be if I splashed them in, either as singles or as an archetype. So for example, Labyrinth theoretically might let me search out Trap Tracks, but then I realized that it just doesn't have enough synergy for it to work, and also I kind of just hate Labyrinth. Vanguard is a basically free special summon of a level 8 that if a monster is sent from the hand to the graveyard, which is very common in this deck, you could special summon it, but the issue is you have to place it on the bottom of the deck when it leaves the field, and that catch is what kills this card. Firstly, I just don't have problems getting level 8s. Like Curse and Alray are perfectly fine for when I do need a level 8. And I have other ways of getting level 8s too, because now I'm starting to incorporate Queen. And then also the next card, Thorian Empress, is also really easy to summon out for free. The issue with this that puts itself to the bottom of the deck is that it means I can't use it to summon Bish, because Bish's requirements is must be special summoned from the extra deck by sending 2 level 8 or higher monsters you control with the same level to the graveyard. And because Vanguard requires it to be set to be returned to the bottom of the deck when it leaves the field, it means you can't use it as materials for Bish, so it's kind of pointless to run. So however you pronounce this stupid card, I put this on the side deck around the time that this card came out, because they Konami released a few new reptile cards, and I figured, okay, maybe it's worth experimenting with. In this variant of the deck, I decided not to run it because it's a level 5 and just doesn't do enough, but I actually did splash it in later on for a very stupid and particular purpose. Stardust Synchron is something I was experimenting with because of the fact that it lets you special summon itself for free. It's a tuner, and also it's a level 4. The problem is it locks you into synchros, which right now I'm starting to consider back because I don't particularly care as much, depending on how the combo works. But this time I was like, okay, worthy of consideration for me to think about in the future, but not for now. Same with Adamantipator Analyzer. It's a tuner, it's a level 4, it can special summon itself, but the problem is your opponent has to control a monster, and this is a going first deck. Lamia is another interesting case. If it's normal or special summon, I could add a level 8 reptile from deck to hand. Even though it is a level 4 and is a reptile, which is beneficial, at the time I didn't really particularly care about searching a level 8, meaning I'd waste either a normal or special summon on a card I just don't care about. In later variants of the deck, I did actually find a way to incorporate this in because it can search out Thorian Empress, which can be useful. Phantom of Chaos. I was wondering whether or not there's any way that I can just copy something, and I just didn't come up with anything interesting. Black Mamba, basically just a free special summon if I control a reptile. Catch is, it's a level 3. Same with Danger Tsuchinoko. It's basically a free special summon and it's a reptile. Catch is, it's a level 3. Psy Reflector is something that's interesting because if there is a assault mode little gimmick that you're able to do to get a level 8 on board, level 8 synchro on board of your choice completely for free. The catch is it requires running several bricks. The other catch is that none of the cards are level 4s. So I think Beast might be level 4, but because of the way it works out, it's like if there were level 4s, then sure. But because they're not, then not. Hot Red Dragon Archfiend. I was originally considering this as a why was I considering this? I don't even know. Alien Shock Trooper M-Frame, I was just looking into this, and then, yeah, basically that's the original V1 version of this deck. So overall, it showed a good direction for the deck and a lot of improvement. But then I realized on what I need to double down on, what I need to take out, what I need to focus on. That led to Ogdoadic, Reptilianne 2, Electric Boogaloo. I just decided to have funny names for all these decks. So it streamlines it a fair bit, like adding in Small World, so that way I can get Coatl a lot easier. It's largely the same in a lot of ways. It just has some different tech options in a couple different ways. But in most cases, for most of the cards, it's actually pretty much the same. That brings us to 3, Ogdoadic Reptilianne, 3, the Snakening. This was more interesting. This is when I realized my goal effectively is I just need to summon Bish. And once I summon Bish, it's full combo. Meaning all I need to do is be able to summon a level 8 Synchro monster. Which, I don't even remember how I found out about this, but Revolution Synchron came in clutch. And it turned the deck from, okay, I could pull off this combo occasionally, maybe every 10 games, to, yeah, now I could actually pull off this combo consistently. Because the issue with the combo before was that Reptilianne Coatl was my only tuner. Meaning that I needed Coatl to summon Geomathemic Magma, and then I needed Coatl again to summon Hydra. Because if I didn't summon Hydra, then let's just say my opponent has 5 tokens for Link plays. So, Revolution Synchron really revolutionized the deck in a lot of ways, because it let me cut out a lot of the filler and the junk from the deck. So, in order to make space for it, I had to cut out a lot of things I really, in hindsight, didn't need. Monster Reborn, Pot of Avarice, Foolish Burial, Kage Tokage. Was I running Goblinberg still? Yeah, I was still running Goblinberg, but you guys get the idea, that I had to streamline it a fair bit. I also made the decision to cut Small World because it's a -1. Yes, it searches very well. However, the fact that it's a -1, I don't like losing card advantage. So, you saw how the combo works with Revolution Synchron before, so long as I have Curse and any level 4 on board, which is very easy, because all I need to do is get Curse in the graveyard and a monster on field, and then I'm able to do that. So if I have Curse in the graveyard, a level 4 in the graveyard, which is 99.999% of cases, if I have Curse in the graveyard, 99% of the time I have a level 4 reptile in the graveyard, and if I have Revolution Synchron in hand, I have full Bish combo. Because then I tune Revolution Synchron with the level 4 for Ancient Fairy Dragon. I get to special summon a level 4 or lower for my hand if I want. So if I had Coatl in hand, free special summon. So I don't need to waste my normal summon or Coatl's inherent special summon. So I can do further things with it later if I want to do some more combos. And then I use Revolution Synchron's effect in Graveyard to mill the top card in order to special summon it as a level 1. And tune it with Ancient Fairy for Geomathemic Magma. And then go full Bish combo. Now, the issue with this at the end of the day was that requires me still to either draw Revolution Synchron or Coatl. This helped a lot with Shadow's Light. That lets me search King of the Feral Imps, lots of little tricks like that. So this was when the deck really started coming along and when it was becoming a lot stronger overall. This is when I was actually able to beat some decks, and I actually got a few legitimate wins with it against, I wouldn't say meta decks, but against fairly competent decks. Like I beat Supernova twice. I beat ironically another Vennominaga deck. What else did I beat? I beat, what's it called? Albaz a few times. So yeah, this deck can hold its own now, so long as it's going first. Now, why did I throw in Ouroboros? Very simple and very stupid. I threw in Ouroboros because I actually lost on 2 occasions because of the fact that the way the combo ends up, by the end of the combo, I still have Echidna on board. And Echidna had 200 attack. And yes, I have a 8,000 attack Vennominaga on board, but that doesn't really matter if my opponent can beat me to death by just killing Echidna with enough damage. So effectively, I decided, okay, I'm searching 5 off Echidna anyways, and for the sake of Water Lily, I want reptiles of different names. So why don't I do this? I'll put Ouroboros, which has an effect that I could search it off Echidna and then tribute Echidna to special summon it in defense mode. And because it's in defense mode, the opponent can't do that to me. So it was a stupid tech choice, but it was a tech choice nonetheless. So then we go to 4, and this is the modern variant of the single loop combo, but theoretically, and I very much stress theoretically, this can pull off a double Bish loop. Now, when I say theoretically, I mean I only did it once, and I did it within 30 minutes of building the deck. However, in hindsight, after watching the replay, the specific requirements for pulling it off period with this variant of the deck are so hyper specific that I think it's probably in like 1 in a million odds. The idea is you pull off the Bish loop once, but once you pull off the Bish loop, your goal is not to summon Echidna first, because that will lock you into reptiles. Rather, before you activate Bish's effect, you must get Coatl on board. Then once you get Coatl on board, you synchro into Hydra, so that way you are able to draw cards. Then you use Bish and Hydra in order to go into Proxy F Magician. Proxy F Magician, you then activate her effect in order to use 2 of the tokens to special summon Alvain, the Essence of Vanity, of all things, because the tokens are technically considered normal monsters. Wait, no, so you don't use Hydra, you have to use another card. This combo is retarded. So, you use Bish and any effect monster to go into Proxy F Magician. Use Proxy F Magician to use 2 of the tokens to summon Alvain, the Essence of Vanity. It's a level 2 tuner that I effectively cheated out using 2 tokens, and I could tune that with Hydra in order to go back into Geomathmic Magma, and then I just need to figure out a way to put Bish back in the extra deck and to basically do all this again. So I then need to find a way to get Saryuja Skuldred on board. To do that, oftentimes I'm going to also need Daigusto Emerald, so sometimes it's beneficial to go into this Bushin Ahishima. Then sometimes I need the extra normal summon, so I have to go into Shock Trooper M-Frame and Cosmic Slicer Zerol. And then on top of all that, basically it's a complete cluster F. It's a complete disaster. And I had to run cards in this deck specifically to make it possible to do that, because the issue is that you need the tokens both for Hydra when you synchro for it and for Proxy F Magician for Alvain. And the issue with that is that you only have so many tokens. So I actually threw in Ogdoadic Daybreak to give me more token, and Reptilianne Nyami, because it is a level 2 non-tuner that can special summon itself from the graveyard for free. And the only reason I need the tokens for Hydra is because of the fact that I need 2 levels. Like, I need the tokens no matter what for Alvain. So, like, I don't have a choice there, but with Hydra, I do have a choice if I could just get 2 levels worth of levels. So I did pull off the combo with this once. It was in my replay, and that replay is now completely gone because they don't store the replays for very long on Dueling Nexus, which is really annoying because this combo was completely insane. But I did manage to pull it off, and it was like, the combo was so insane that at various points it relied on the exact right conditions to be met. That you had to have had a level 4 monster in your hand at the exact point that you needed a level 4 monster in your hand, because if you had it either one play earlier or one play later, it would have been too early or too late. And then also you have to have the exact right cards that you need at the exact right time in the graveyard, and then on top of that you have to have the exact amount of normal and special summons needed in order to do everything. So, and all this has to be at the right times, because if you have it too early or too late, it will not work. That's number 4. So this is able to do the single Bish loop very well and very easily, but it's not quite as good at doing the double Bish loop, which is why I'm working on number 6 and really number 7 right now even. But let's look at 5. 5 is the one I have the least amount of experimentation with. Actually 5 and 6 are very similar right now. Do I have some of the... Might be in 4. 4 has a lot of extra deck stuff I was looking at. So 5 and 6 are basically the same thing right now. I'll probably fix 5 to be what I was working on earlier. But 5 effectively was that, yes, I'm gonna try for a 60 card pile variant. Reason being because the deck actually bricks a lot of the time. I draw into cards I don't want to draw into. So, for example, I'll draw into Alrate or Curse or Queen or Vennominaga or Phenomenon, and like those, that's just 5 cards right off the bat that are bricks. So if I run a 60 card variant with more 1-card starters, then that could potentially help the deck because it reduces the ratio of bricks to starters. So originally I was looking into level and rank 4 stuff that can help with that. So I was looking into Time Thieves. So Time Thieves allow themselves to be special summoned very easily. The problem is they are not tuners. Then I looked into Centurion, which was working very well for me. I was also looking into Perform Mage, but because Perform Mage are linked with pendulums, I hate it, and therefore I don't want to use it if I don't have to. And a lot of other similar cards like that are level 4 that do these kinds of things. There was also a couple other cards that I found through my research. Notably, Luna the Dark Spirit cannot be normal summoned or spell, must be special summoned from your hand by banishing a dark monster from your graveyard. The other effect really doesn't matter. But basically, it just special summons itself for free by banishing a dark in my graveyard, which is super easy in this deck. And then, whatever this card is called, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon it once per turn this way. If you special summon it, activate this effect, your opponent can special summon a level 4 whatever. So not quite as good, but these are just level 4s with inherent special summons. Then I also found Tin Goldfish. When this is normal summon, special summon a level 4 from your hand, which is basically just Goblinberg, but not quite as good. So I'm basically experimenting with these 1-card starters and different things like that. Now, what is my next plan for the deck? The next plan for the deck is further optimization. I started adding in Small World. I'm wondering if, let's say, there is a way that I can more consistently just get out Coatl to my hand. That's one of the big priorities. I think a lot of the optimization is going to be come from how I play the deck, but also just fixing up the extra deck. I think the main deck is actually relatively solid. Yes, there's still a lot of room for improvement. A lot. But I think it's relatively solid enough that most of the improvements at this point, until new cards come out that really help with the strategy. Once new cards come out that can help with the strategy, then it's going to change a lot. But until then, most of it's going to really come from small adjustments to the main deck, large adjustments to the extra deck, and just play testing the deck to understand how it's supposed to combo off properly and what the ideal way of getting the double Bish loop is. I think that double Bish loop is going to be key because that makes it so that way I'm that much more likely to draw into what I need and to get all the resources I need to do whatever I want. And it just gives me more options in general. Then after I figure out how to make this deck actually even remotely consistent, that it is able to summon Vennominaga, let's say 50% of games, then the goal is going to be have it actually function going second. So yeah, that is my Vennominaga deck. It's actually relatively powerful. As you can see, just the sheer amount of draw power and the consistency, I'd say make it one of the most consistent and strong variants, which is really saying something that I'm able to pull it off 30% of the time, given it's Vennominaga of all things. And just the fact that it incorporates Bish in this way is just really, really strong. I hope you guys learned something about just building this deck, and I hope you're able to take some of these combos I figured out and incorporate them into your own strategies. So make sure to like, favorite, and subscribe. I have a lot more videos coming down the pipeline really in a while from now. Like these Yu-Gi-Oh videos I do whenever I'm bored and I feel like it because I play the game anyways. I want to share some of the things I do. But then I have other videos that I've been working on for a very, very, very long time, and I'm going to continue working on them for another very, very long time, possibly years. But this channel is not dead. This channel will never die until I die. I will be releasing more videos at some point. It just will take a while. So anyways, have a good one.